We got to take a dip into Hillary Clinton's hell. You know, old Marxists never die. They just fade away. But you know what? They don't even fade away. It's amazing how the media treat her. Well, really not. She's behind the Russia collusion, obstruction of a campaign, obstruction of justice. And there she is, walking free. She has her orange jumpsuit on, but unfortunately, she's on the wrong side of the bars. A crook in every respect. So she's on CNN yesterday. You've heard some of this, but you haven't heard me talk about it. And I want you to listen to what she has to say about you. Or many of you, anyway. Cut 11, go.
And sadly, so many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their marching orders from Donald Trump, who has no credibility left by any measure. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions.
There, she just contradicts herself. So he's in it for himself. Yeah, and he's facing criminal and civil litigation to destroy him. And if he wasn't in it, he would be getting none of this. But he's in it for himself. This would be Hillary Clinton of Whitewater fame. Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton of the Clinton Library and Crime Syndicate, who've made tens of millions of dollars subsequent to their time in Washington, D.C. Go ahead.
Break with him, because at some point, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members, but something needs to happen.
And how do you do that?
All right, that's where I want to go with this. First of all, we need to get our history straight. Deprogramming of the cult members. I want you to hear this next cut, then I'm going to bundle it all together. Cut 12, go.
And they are determined that they will continue to vote for him, attend his rallies, wear his merchandise, because for whatever reason, he and his very negative, nasty form of politics resonates with them. Maybe they don't like migrants. Maybe they don't like gay people or black people or the woman who got the promotion at work.
This is just amazing to me because this is the history of the Democrat Party. That's why I wrote the book. This is their history. The inhumanity of the Democrat Party. Hillary Clinton. The inhumanity of her. I want you to listen to some of the Democrats in the media when you hear what they have to say. Now, of course, they've apologized since because they grift and they want these primetime TV shows and so forth, and the corporatists are more than happy to give it to them. But I want you to listen to something that was sent to me by a dear friend. Mehdi Hasan. We played a clip of him last evening with Joe Scarborough, which they were calling Trump a Nazi or neo-Nazi, and Scarborough kept prodding him to do it more and more and more. Media Matters comes out and says, Mark defends what Trump said, and of course, this is what propagandists do. So all of a sudden the issue is Trump and me. I want you to listen to this man who called Trump effectively a neo-Nazi and who is on MSNBC and who is repeatedly on the Scarborough Show. I want you to listen to him from years past and a past video. Mehdi Hasan, cut 17, go.
And of course the kafirs, the disbelievers, the atheists who remain deaf and stubborn to the teachings of Islam, the rational message of the Quran. They are described in the Quran as, quote, a people of no intelligence. Allah describes us. Not of no morality, not of no belief, a people of no intelligence. Because they are incapable of the intellectual effort it requires to shake off those blind prejudices, to shake off those easy assumptions about this world, about the existence of God. In this respect, the Quran describes the atheists as cattle, of those who go into crowds and do not stop and wonder about this world.
Mm-hmm. So those who had trouble hearing it, it says, and of course the kafar, the disbelievers, the atheists who remain deaf and stubborn to the teachings of Islam, the rational message of the Quran. They're described in the Quran as, quote, a people of no intelligence. Allah describes them as not of no morality, as people of no intelligence. No morality, people of no intelligence, because they're incapable of the intellectual effort it requires to shake off those blind prejudices, to shake off those easy assumptions about this world, about the existence of God. In this respect, the Quran describes the atheists as cattle of those who grow the crops and do not stop and wonder about this world. He's since apologized, of course, after this came out, but he said more. Cut 18, go.
All of these ulama unanimously agree that at the very minimum, if Yazid was not a kafir, then at the very minimum, he was a fasiq, a transgressor, a breaker of Islamic laws, a corrupt individual, a tyrant, a killer, a drunkard, a dog lover, a music lover, a homosexual, a pedophile, a sexual deviant, someone who slept with his own mother, astaghfirullah. These are their views of these ulama in their books, not my view.
The non-Muslims. It is amazing how bigots like this are able to recover, isn't it? And get prime slots on MSNBC. It's amazing. They don't have to shamelessly, tail between their legs, walk off the public stage and never to be seen again. No. Then we go to Joy Reid at professorwatchlist.org, but you can find this everywhere and anywhere. Host of the show on MSNBC. She was a visiting professor, may still be at Howard University. During the riots in the summer 2020, following the death of George Floyd, Reid has claimed there is zero evidence that any of the destruction was connected to the movement. She has claimed that when there was any violence, it was inflicted by white supremacists and Trump supporters. She reported that there was a significant presence by BLM activists at over 95% of the riots during the summer 2020, resulting in at least 47 deaths and over $2 billion in damages. Reid has referred to Justice Clarence Thomas as Uncle Clarence, a reference to the racial epithet Uncle Tom when discussing his court rulings. Following the 2017 congressional baseball shooting, Reid and her guests mocked the victims for holding insufficiently liberal positions. And she accused Louisiana Congressman Steve Scalise of racism while he was fighting for his life after the attack. In 2018, blog posts were unearthed from Reid's old website that contained inflammatory language, bigoted statements, links to conspiracies that accused the United States government of plotting the 9/11 terror attacks. She alleged that many members of Congress were secretly gay and openly mocked Jews. Once the blog was unearthed and began receiving media attention, Reid initially acknowledged that she'd written the post and apologized for her, quote, bigoted remarks. But once additional posts surfaced, Reid reversed her position, claimed that she'd never written the blog post to begin with. Reid claimed on national TV that she, quote, generally does not believe that, unquote, she wrote the posts, and alleged that her blog was hacked. After cybersecurity experts confirmed that there was little evidence of Reid's blog ever being breached. Yes. She's taught a class titled Covering Race, Gender, and Politics in the Digital Age, and plans to teach more journalism. Students how to navigate, quote, partisan and political division. I won't bother you with her actual texts. And then there's Al Sharpton on the same network. All three of these people, and worse. Al Sharpton. All these people are embraced by Joe Scarborough, Mika Brzezinski. All these people are embraced by Mediaite and Media Matters. All these people are embraced by the Democrat Party. But it wasn't always that way. Look what I found. March 20, 2000. By my calculation, about 23 years ago. Joe Scarborough then was a Republican. He was a member of Congress. And he proposes a resolution. House Congress Resolution 289. And he introduced it in the House, condemning the racist, anti-Semitic views of the Reverend Al Sharpton. Whereas the Congress strongly rejects the racist and incendiary actions of the Reverend Al Sharpton. Whereas the Reverend Al Sharpton is not me, this is Scarborough, condoned anti-Semitic views, and that protesters from the Reverend Sharpton's National Action Network have referred to members of the Jewish faith as blood-sucking Jews and Jew bastards. Whereas the Reverend Al Sharpton has referred to members of the Jewish faith as white interlopers and diamond merchants. Whereas the Reverend Al Sharpton was found guilty of defamation by a jury in a New York court. Whereas to this day, the Reverend Al Sharpton has refused to accept responsibility, expresses no regret for defaming Mr. Pagons. Whereas the Reverend Al Sharpton's vicious verbal anti-Semitic attacks directed at members of the Jewish faith, and in particular a Jewish landlord, arising from a simple landlord-tenant dispute with a black tenant, Scarborough wrote, incited widespread violence, riots, and the murder of 5 innocent people. Whereas the Al Sharpton's fierce demagoguery incited violence, riots, and murder in Crown Heights section of Brooklyn, following the accidental death of a black pedestrian child hit by a motorcade of Orthodox rabbi Jews. And it goes on. This was written by Joe Scarborough. Now, if he believed that Al Sharpton incited these violent events that resulted in deaths, then why is Al Sharpton on MSNBC, and why do Scarborough and Al Sharpton laugh it up like old buddies? He apologized too, I guess. These are some of the most vile of the people who have platforms on MSNBC. There are others too. But they want you to believe it's MAGA Republicans, that the Republicans have lost their way, that the Republicans are the racists and the bigots and the anti-Semites. Really? Well, I'm not done. Hillary Clinton believes you should be reprogrammed. All the talk about Nazis, that's Nazism. That's fascism. That's autocracy.